Hey everyone, welcome back to Firsthand Globetrotting. Today's vlog is all about Las Vegas. I spent 6 amazing days in Vegas experiencing the lights and sounds and excitement and craziness of Sin City. This was a big, jam-packed trip, so this is going to end up being a 2-parter. I'll tell you about my first 3 days here and then the last 3 days in a follow-up video. So sit back and I'll tell you everything I did while I was there. It all started at the airport with my first ever flight on Spirit Airlines. I had heard a lot of horror stories with them since they're a super low-cost airline, but the flight was so cheap that I just couldn't pass it up. But guess what? It actually wasn't too bad. As soon as I stepped off the plane and into the airport, I knew I was in Vegas. What other airport has slot machines right in the terminal? They make sure that you don't need to wait long to start gambling. The Vegas Strip is full of massive theme resorts, and the one I stayed at was New York, New York. The hotel's shaped like the New York City skyline. It's one big hotel building, but they make it look like a bunch of skyscrapers next to each other, like the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building. Plus, it has the Statue of Liberty right out front. Pretty cool, with all of the over-the-top extravagance and glitz and showmanship that you expect in Vegas. And to be a major Vegas resort, you have to have a big casino to go along with it, right? So I made sure to spend some time playing cheap quarter slots when I got there. And of course, I ended up losing my money pretty quickly. But they also have a sports book, and I ended up having a little better time betting on the games. But I'm a small-time gambler and only bet a few bucks, so I didn't stay gambling very long. I actually got distracted by a mini parade winding its way through the casino. Yeah, a casino parade. New York, New York is right next to T-Mobile Arena, the hockey rink where the Vegas Golden Knights play. They had a playoff game that night, so the parade was to get everyone excited and cheering for the Knights. It worked because I joined the crowd outside the arena to watch on the big screens. They ended up losing, but it was really cool to see how the Vegas fans have embraced the team and put the Vegas spin on hockey. It's always fun when you just accidentally stumble into some sort of event and can join in on the excitement. By the time the game was over, I was exhausted from travel and the time change and everything else, so I headed back to my room for an early night. When I woke up for day 2, I was ready to get out there and explore. As I said before, the Las Vegas Strip is all about the massive casino resorts, and they pack them in as tightly as they can. So as you walk up and down the Strip, it's just resort after resort after resort for miles. There's Luxor with its Egyptian theme and massive pyramid. Then you have the castles of Excalibur, and the Eiffel Tower of Paris, and the ancient Roman buildings of Caesar's Palace, and the canals of the Venetian, and the fountains of the Bellagio, and that's just naming a few. Just look at the list of the biggest hotels in the world, and half of them are on the Las Vegas Strip. Their size will trick you though. When you look down the street and see a resort, it may seem close, but it's actually a pretty long walk to get there. It's great if you like to get out and walk, especially in the daytime when everyone's still sleeping off their late nights, so the sidewalks aren't very crowded. I stopped into the Flamingo to check out their flamingo habitat. It's an outdoor nature area tucked in behind the casino with little streams winding through it, waterfalls and fountains. They have fish swimming around, some ducks and pelicans, but of course the highlight is the flamingos. They just hang out on their own little island, eating food and drinking water, while all the tourists snap pictures of them. For lunch, I did one of the most iconic Las Vegas meals, a buffet. You can find buffets all over the Vegas Strip, but I went with the one that's consistently voted the best in Vegas, Bacchanal at Caesar's Palace. I have to admit, it was unlike any buffet I've had before. To start off, it had basically any type of food you'd want. There was seafood and sushi and Asian food and Italian food and Mexican food and American food and a carving station and pizza and more stuff that I can't even remember. But the coolest part was how they prepare and serve it. It's an open kitchen behind the buffet, so you can watch all of the chefs making the food right in front of you. And instead of big tubs of food, they do it small plate style, so a lot of the foods are pre-served on little plates and you can just pick them up as you walk by. Overall, the food and the experience were better than any buffet I've ever had before. And did I mention they have an entire section just for desserts? There were so many good things to sample, and I definitely ate way too much. I needed to stretch my legs after all that buffet food, so I walked through the Forum shops at Caesars. As I was wandering around, I ended up at one of the free shows they put on there, the Fall of Atlantis. It has these big animatronic statues moving around and acting, mixed with some water fountains and flaming swords. Definitely cool to see, and not something you normally expect to see in the middle of a mall. Fast forward to nighttime, and I made my way over to the high roller Ferris wheel at the Link Hotel. And since it's Vegas, it can't just be a regular Ferris wheel, it has to be the world's tallest one. The cabins are these big balls that you can walk around inside with windows all around them. It takes a full 30 minutes to go around, but as you go up, you start to see more and more of the Vegas resorts coming into view. You eventually get up 550 feet in the air, so you can see all the way down the strip in both directions. I'm definitely glad I went at night, since it was pretty amazing getting that aerial view of the strip lit up in all its glory. After that, I walked around the strip to get a more up-close nighttime look at everything I saw from the sky. Vegas looks pretty cool by day, but it's so much better at night. Everything is lit up and flashing with music and people everywhere. It's just lights, lights, lights everywhere you look. Even though the streets are pretty calm during the day, they're full of people and cars and noise at night. And it's hard not to get excited with everything going on around you. If you like things calm and peaceful, then it may not be for you. But if you like to be in the middle of a wild time, then walking around Vegas at night is a blast. Plus, there's a bunch of free shows you can check out while you're out there. In front of the Bellagio, they have a huge lake. Dozens of fountains rise up from the lake and put on a water show every 15 minutes. It's really cool how they choreograph the fountains and the lights and sync them all up to the music. It's not very often you get to see jets of water shooting out of a man-made lake with a lit-up resort in the background. A little further down the road at the Mirage is the volcano show. The Bellagio is all about water, and the Mirage is all about fire. When the volcano starts erupting, red lights make it seem like lava and steam are pouring out from the top. But where it gets really good is when the jets of fire start shooting up into the air. Only in Vegas can you go from walking down a sidewalk to being in the middle of a volcanic eruption. And for the rest of the night, I just kept wandering the strip and taking in all the lights and noise and excitement. On to day 3, and I'm back out walking the strip again. The first thing I did was take an early morning walk down to the Welcome to Las Vegas sign. You've probably seen it before, since it's such an iconic symbol of Vegas. Pretty much every tourist shop has versions of this sign plastered all over the souvenirs. It's in the middle of the road, but you can cross over and take pictures in front of it, so it's a really popular photo stop. I've been talking about the lavish resorts and bright lights and excitement of the Vegas Strip, but part of the reason people love it is because it has all of the glitz and glamour with a little unwholesomeness and sleaze added in. It is Sin City after all, right? On the one hand, you have children's characters wandering around and posing for photos with families. And then, a dozen feet away, you have nearly naked showgirls posing for photos with groups of adults. As the traffic drives by, you can see billboards for some of the world-class shows and entertainment they have there, followed immediately by billboards advertising escorts. But it's that contrast that makes Vegas such a unique and memorable place. It's like they take all the glamour and sleaze and family friendliness and adult themes, mix them all together, and out pops Las Vegas. All of the wildness and craziness in Vegas is fueled by plenty of drinking options. You can't go more than a half block down the strip without finding a place to buy a mixed drink or beer or wine. And you're allowed to drink pretty much everywhere, so it turns the whole street into a giant bar. It's all pretty cool and definitely something you're going to want to see yourself. But after a while out exploring the strip, I popped into a few of the resorts to check out their attractions. I started with Siegfried and Roy's Secret Garden at the Mirage. Siegfried and Roy were some of the most popular performers in Vegas during the 1990s and were known for having white lions and tigers in their shows. So the Secret Garden is like a mini zoo with different big cats on display. Most of them were just taking a nap, so nothing too exciting, but it was still pretty neat to see the white lions and tigers in person. The other part of the Secret Garden is the dolphin habitat. I'm not really sure how dolphins tie into Siegfried and Roy, but I'm a sucker for dolphins, so I was happy to see them. They have a few big pools where the dolphins are swimming around, jumping in the air, playing around, and all that fun stuff. The other attraction I went to was the Shark Reef at Mandalay Bay. They make it seem like you're in a lost city with vines and old sculptures around the tanks. There are a bunch of different reptiles and fish to see, but the highlight is definitely the shark tank. The tunnel leading into the main exhibit is surrounded by the tank, so you feel like you're right there with everything. It was definitely a cool feeling looking straight up and seeing a shark swimming right over top of you. For my last attraction of the day, I headed back to my own resort to check out their roller coaster. You have to walk through a big arcade to get there, but the roller coaster starts right inside New York, New York. And keeping with the New York theme, the cars are even painted to look like yellow cabs. It takes you outside where you drop and twist and turn and go upside down and spin in a loop around the hotel. For part of it, you're right next to the Strip, so you get some more great views of Vegas. It was a pretty cool way to add some amusement park fun to the Vegas Strip. After that, I headed outside to the park. It's a public area between New York, New York, the Park MGM, and the hockey arena that has a bunch of bars, restaurants, fountains, and sculptures. I ended up spending a lot of time there when I just wanted to sit outside and relax, since it's one of the only public outdoor areas I found on the Strip. But there's only so much relaxing you can do in Vegas, so I headed back into the casino. The craziest thing about the casinos is that you're never quite sure what time it is in there. Some of these clips are from early in the morning, some are from the daytime, some are from nighttime, and some are from the middle of the night. It all looks nearly identical inside. There are always people walking around, eating and gambling, no windows to the outside, no clocks, so it's hard to guess what time it is. That wraps up my first 3 days in Vegas. So far it's been an amazing time with so much to see and do. In my next video, I'll tell you about the last 3 days of my trip. I'm going to be going to downtown Vegas and experiencing Old Vegas and Fremont Street, taking a trip to the desert to visit the Grand Canyon, and spending some more time experiencing the Vegas Strip. The link to part 2 is in the video description, so make sure to check it out. Hopefully you like following me on my trip to Vegas. If you have any questions, ask me in the comments. And don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe to my channel. On Twitter, I'm Firsthand Globe. On Instagram, I'm Firsthand Globetrotting. Follow me on there. And don't forget, it's an incredible world out there, so pick up your passport and do some firsthand globetrotting of your own.